All right, guys, so I've been asked several times over the years of how to do long runs on the treadmill. Times where we have to do our long runs on the treadmill, and a lot of times that's just because it's too hot out. Maybe you have a planned harder long run, and if it's 100 degrees out, it's much better to get on the treadmill, in a environment where it's more so around 65 degrees, and focus on getting a quality long run in rather than going out in the heat, especially in very high heat. I spent 3 years living in San Antonio, and any of you who have lived in Texas know how Texas summers are. And so in terms of doing your long runs on the treadmill, what I love about it, and over the years, I have spent several hours preparing for my long run, or preparing for my marathons, training on the treadmill. I mean, you look at a lot of world-class middle to long distance runners, and they too train on the treadmill. And so what I've always loved about it is the fact that you can focus, you can just set your pace and sit on that pace and do the very possible best that you can in making sure that you sustain that pace for your entire duration of your long run. And what's also nice is you can do those very paced long runs that I talk about, where you're running, maybe say you're doing, say, a 20 mile or 32 kilometer long run on the treadmill, and you want to run 8 kilometers easy, then 8 kilometers hard, then doing another K very easy, and running those last 4K very hard, more closer to around your 3K to 5K race pace. So you can mix up your long runs very easily on a treadmill, and the exact pace that you're running at. Now, a common issue for a lot of athletes is they wonder, well, is running on a treadmill any less than running outside? If you have the incline at least 0.5, but preferably at 1% incline, that's going to equal or come close to equaling running outside. Another thing that's great about running on the treadmill too is you don't have any wind resistance. So there are pros and cons to preparing for doing long runs on a treadmill. It's not like outside where you do have to deal with more hills, but you can put the treadmill on a higher incline and kind of experience some hills and some elevations, whether that's running a portion of that long run at, say, like 2% incline. That will definitely challenge you. You're going to be burning much more calories, increasing the incline of a treadmill, and that can kind of equal doing your long run on a hilly course. So maybe you run 50% of the first 50% of your, say, the first 10 miles of a 20 miler on the treadmill. Do that first 10 miles at 1% incline. So again, to equal or come very close to equaling running outside, and then run that last 10 miles at 1.5 or 2% incline. I guarantee you that is going to be a challenge, especially if you're running that long run at a faster clip. So I'm a big believer in the importance of periodization, where we focus on training at a specific intensity for a specific amount of time before we start moving toward a higher intensity. And so you don't just jump into doing long runs at a faster pace on a treadmill. Okay, you have to build that base. You have to build that aerobic base before you start working on your anaerobic training. So, and over the years when I was preparing for the marathon, I focused on first building a base of high mileage, or a base of mileage, and then gradually increasing the paces of my long runs. I think a big mistake that marathoners are making is not the fact that they don't have what it takes to sustain their goal race pace for the marathon. It's just that they haven't spent sufficient time training at below and far below that goal race pace. In regards to training on a treadmill, it doesn't make you any less of an athlete preparing for your marathon running on a treadmill. It's just, if you're doing it every single weekend, for some athletes it works. There's some athletes out there that run world-class times that train almost 100% on the treadmill. So everybody's unique, and it doesn't, I've heard comments over the years too that well, if you run on a treadmill, it's not like you're really running. You know, you're not really getting the same types of benefits. That's not necessarily true. You're still getting a huge physiological boost from doing your long runs on the treadmill at faster clips. And even if you're, you know, like I said, if you start varying up the paces of your long runs, and you don't just run every single weekend long, slow, easy, you're going to become very efficient and running at much more economical, more efficient running the marathon distance if you start varying up the paces of your long runs. So don't just, you know, if it's too hot out, or it's the super windy, or for whatever reason you don't want to go out and do your long run on the outside in the roads, just make sure that you have at least preferably around a 1% incline on that treadmill while you're running on it. So that'll equal running outside. You know, indoors there's no wind resistance, so it's not like running outside and doing your long runs in that respect. If you're training at altitude and you're running on a treadmill, you're still doing a huge amount of you know, you're going to get a huge benefit from your training, because you're training at high altitude. Your body doesn't, and your cells don't have as much oxygen as opposed to somebody that's training at sea level. So in this particular topic of how to do long runs on a treadmill, you don't just want to run long, slow, easy every single weekend. So start mixing up the paces of your long runs. You know, mix it up, make it interesting. If you're doing, say, a 32-kilometer run on the treadmill, do the first 8 kilometers nice and relaxed. The next 8 kilometers at around 85 to 90% of your maximum heart rate. So you're going to be running at a pretty aggressive pace at that particular effort, you know, and then run a K easy, and then run that last 3K at like race pace, at your 5K race pace. So again, you're stressing very different systems of the body. You know, you're allotting enough time to recover for a certain amount of time during that long run before you start attacking another pace within that long run. And then the following week you can run nice and relaxed. You know, if you're going to do, like, say, a 16-week build up for the marathon, and you want to run every single Sunday or every single Saturday and do your long runs on the treadmill, you can do it. You're still going to be just as effective as anybody else that's running outside. It's how you set up your training, it's your mindset, it's your preparation, it's your long-term vision, it's the way you prepare mentally for your races. Because I guarantee you, the athletes that are doing phenomenal, whether they're middle distance runners or they're long distance runners, these athletes know, and I know from experience from my own background, I can assure you that I did not run under 2 hours and 20 minutes for the marathon without visualization, without mental training. I knew the best middle to long distance runners paid a huge amount of their preparation on mental training. And so if you want to get to the next level as a marathon runner, you have to start thinking about, what are the other avenues, what are the other areas of my training that I've neglected in the past that I need to get right now? You know, because I believe 2021 is going to be a great year for all of you. Some of you, I know, you all leave comments. Some of you are aiming to break 3 hours. I know some of you that are trying to go under 2 hours and 30 minutes. I know some of you that are trying to break 5 hours. Some are trying to break 4 hours. So you do have to have that discipline. If you don't feel like getting out the door or doing a long run on a treadmill, you have to remember what you're trying to do. You know, we all have 3 choices in this life. We can be good, we can be average, or we can be great. And the athletes that are great are putting in the work regardless how they feel. Now, sometimes you're going to feel off, and you're going to need to maybe take a day off or to jog on a day that you had maybe a hard, either a track session scheduled or a tempo run scheduled. You're going to have that same discipline to say, okay, I'm not feeling as prepared today. I might need 24 hours of recovery. I may need to hydrate well for a day and then do that track session or that long run that I had scheduled. There's nothing wrong with adjusting your schedule. It takes more. You know, I respect more the athlete that has that discipline to say, hey, I need an additional day of recovery, and allows that time to recover from hard training that they've done previously than somebody that just continues to push and push and push and then complains on why they don't get the results that they've been really focused on getting. You can't just stress your body anaerobically constantly. You have to allow time to recover. So that's why I stress that usually giving yourself 48 hours of easy jogging between each hard anaerobic workout you're doing, that is the key to success. The rest period of your preparation is where you get the highest return on your investment when it comes to preparing for longer races. The long run is the bread and butter workout, in my opinion, whether you're a miler or you're a marathoner. The long run and how you prepare, how you set it up is key. Okay, and like I said in other videos, and I've written about on RunDreamAchieve.com as well, there's got to be, you know, the definition of insanity, they say, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If what you've been doing in the past in terms of your marathon preparation, in terms of your long runs, has not gotten you what you want, has not gotten you to that time, you got to look at your training and your background and say, okay, am I running too many of my miles or too many of my kilometers too slow? And oftentimes that's a big part of the problem, as well as a lot of other things. It could be you're running too many miles or too many kilometers of your weekly mileage too slow, or at paces that are, you know, far too slow compared to the race pace that you're trying to hold. It could be you need to spend more time training at your anaerobic threshold so you get your body very efficient at clearing lactic acid faster than it's building up. It could be that you're not spending sufficient time training at your VO2 max, where you're training at your maximum heart rate. You know, you're really not paying as much attention to your speed and your overall leg speed. You're focusing a high amount on building your endurance, as opposed, you know, an example of that is doing your long runs on the treadmill. But it's also, you have to run at paces that are more at sprint paces, where you're really focusing on recruiting those fast twitch muscle fibers. The more fast twitch muscle fibers that you can recruit, the more efficient you're going to be at your race pace. And the less that the higher amounts of lactic acid buildup in your bloodstream is going to affect you, as opposed to your competition. The best middle to long distance runners make it look very easy for a reason. They've trained at paces that are far below their goal race pace. And so most oftentimes you see when they finish the race, they still have a lot of energy. You know, I know when I ran 2:19:35 at the 2007 California International Marathon, when I crossed the finish line, I was fired up. I came around the corner, I saw 2:19:12 on the clock. I was ecstatic because I knew I was going to do something that even I was going to surpass the goal that I had in mind, which was breaking 2 hours and 22 minutes. And here I was going under 2 hours and 20 minutes. So a big part of that was from doing long runs and not just running long, slow, easy every single weekend. So on the treadmill, you can still mix up your training, make it interesting. You know, if you're wanting to take your marathoning to the next level, I have marathon courses and marathon training plans on RunDreamAchieve.com, where we set up the training. You're basically going to be doing the same types of workouts that I was doing when I was preparing for my marathons. The only differences are paces. That's it. I have training plans I have a course that I'm working on right now, actually, for sub 5 hour marathoners. So if you're trying to break 5 hours, definitely check out that course. You can sign up now for early access. It's basically you're right now just giving your contact information, and then once the course goes live, I'll contact that list. And but it depends, regardless what your goal is. Recovery is huge. So if you're doing your long runs on a treadmill or you're doing them outside, you have to know that you have to stress the body, but you also have to allot sufficient time for your body to recover from that hard effort, so that you become very well accustomed to not only clearing lactic acid faster than it's building up, but also burning fat at race pace. And that's what doing these long runs is going to do. You're going to build a great deal of endurance, stamina, and strength from doing varied pace long runs, not just running long, slow, easy every single weekend, but mixing up the training itself. So I hope this video was helpful for you in terms of how to run long runs on a treadmill. And if there's anything else I can help you all out with, feel free to leave me a comment below this video. I definitely love hearing from you. And let me know what your current marathon personal best is right now. I'd be really interested in hearing what you've done for the distance and what is your goal for the marathon. How have you been setting up your long runs? How have you been doing, in terms of your preparation for your races? Have you been running too slow, you think, in your long runs? Or do you feel like you need to start adjusting your paces and start speeding, spending a little bit more time during those long runs at faster paces? So let me know in the comment section below. If you're brand new to the channel, click that bell icon and the subscribe button so when I make a new video, you'll be notified of it. And if there's anything else I can help you all out with, definitely leave me a comment and I'll reach back out to you. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.